Well, what's new?
Oh, not a whole lot. It's kind of getting everything buttoned up, ready to go. It's gonna come up quicker than you think.
I feel like every year it's the same thing.
Yeah, usually the first sit or two is gonna be forgot something at home or gonna be
Yeah.
miserable.
I've yet to be that guy to forget something like so important that I can't hunt. Like you see videos of guys like, I forgot my bow at home. It's like, well, it's
Yeah,
pretty
no,
important.
I'm
Turn
usually good for grabbing my bag, and especially early season, I'll forget to have a thermocell, or I'll have a thermocell and all the little butane cartridges will be dead, and I'll be getting eaten alive by mosquitoes.
Yeah, I have a thermocell, but I don't really it's one of those things that kind of gets lost in the bag or like I don't put it in my bag and I never take it. I mean,
Oh, that's
guys swear by them and I probably should use them, especially early season, but I'd never bring it.
I wouldn't step foot in the woods without one early season.
Especially up north though, like it seems like when it's wetter earlier in the year,
Yeah,
a lot of them
it's a
swampier areas, they're
mosquito breeding
terrible.
grounds.
Yeah. Well, I know the ticks have been bad this year and the mosquitoes haven't been terrible, but the last week or so, I feel like the last couple nights, like last night, I was getting eaten alive, but not
I
really
was in the
sure.
woods last night. I went and grabbed a couple cameras out of some public ground, and I was down in like a on the edge of like a ridge coming down, and there was a little cattail marsh, and I was just walking this edge, just stay dry until I had to go in there, and it was you could the woods was just humming. It was terrible. I was getting
Yeah.
chased out of there by mosquitoes.
And like here, it's like you can hear like it's kind of like right before dark, you hear the cicadas, just like almost deafening sometimes.
Yeah, so
It's loud.
they're definitely a bumper crop of mosquitoes this year.
Yeah. Well, what have you been doing lately other than camera stuff? Because I know I got all my cameras out like actually pretty early, just because I knew we were gonna have a pretty busy this like I don't want to leave it all till right before, especially with like all the weddings and stuff we've had. I kind of threw them out late June, early July, and I didn't get as many out as I wanted to, but I got like the ones I wanted for sure to soak all year, like on scrapes and whatever, or spots from last year I wanted them, and most of them are in spots for like rough time frame anyways, just to sit there all year. But I had a couple I wanted to get out here like right before season, but I figure that's kind of not doing really any good to walk in there 2 weeks before season. But I got a couple out. I'll probably just end up putting them in my bag, and then when I go hunt those spots at some point during the year, early season, I'll kind of do like a scout hunt and just hang them.
Yeah, that's kind of my plan. I fell behind on the ball hanging cameras, which really isn't gonna determine if I'm gonna hunt there anyways. But
It's
I
nice. It
only
just
had,
makes you feel good about having them out.
yeah, it's a little bit of confidence, but I, so far I had two cameras on this one chunk of public, and there's more foot traffic in there than I thought. So that spot's gonna get hunted hard. I can already tell.
Well, that's just as good as seeing what deer's in there, seeing what people's in there too. Kind
Yeah,
of a double edged sword.
and then for the most part, I'm just gonna start throwing hunts at some stuff I've scouted earlier this spring, and then just bring a camera with, and then put it on a little trail or whatever I find in there, and let
The
that
only
kind of
really
determine.
really the only spots I've ever like hunted where I could like see my camera or even be with like within bow range of my camera has been like on a primary scrape. So like
Yeah,
the more and more I think about it and the more years go by, it's like not really as important to get them out like
yeah,
well before season. But
yeah.
it's
I'll usually,
it's kind of nice though too though. Like yeah, cameras maybe aren't the biggest deal and whatever, but with the hills and stuff, there's not really a lot of good areas to glass early season. So I feel like soaking cameras and spots and just going off of what you see previous years, but it's a lot harder than like flatter like egg ground. There's not a
yeah,
lot of area. It's all mostly timber and like really broken up stuff where you're almost like observing a small pocket instead of like a big field.
yeah.
or their
Yeah, up
deer aren't
here,
getting there till middle of the night. So it's like it's hard to kind of use that glassing or observation,
yeah,
which I
up
want to get
here,
better at doing that. But
all the all the egg ground's all private, and then as soon as you find any public, it's just huge timber blocks. So there really is no glassing or even shining at night. You kind of gotta just be in the woods and see what's around, scout, find old rubs, find big tracks, or just be there when you've seen deer. Cameras are help, but come gun season, you don't know what
it's
happens in there. So you might be going in blind the next year because that deer is either dead and gone or the wolves got him. You don't know.
right. Yeah, that glassing and stuff and like shining, it's nice. Like you can do it on the private around, and I know a lot of guys that do that. They find one whether it's in the middle of the night or not that you would never even catch him on public, but just to know he's in that area
Yeah, have a
because he's going
chance.
to be in that block, that huge block of timber at some point, probably more towards the rut time frame when they're running around. But yeah, but anyways, yeah, I mean, let's do a little bit of an intro. We kind of were talking before we started this on some stuff that led into it a little bit, but just give everybody your name, kind of go maybe tell them how we know each other, where you're located at, just a little bit. You don't have to do too much.
All right. So my name's Jesse. Me and Jake actually went to school together. Been best friends for quite a few years. We grew up in northern Wisconsin. Pretty much hunt a bunch of huge timber blocks. We're up in bear and wolf country, so we got just more than us out there going after these deer. There are some egg fields around. We grew up, his dad had a pretty nice chunk of private north of my house. My dad has some farm fields and egg land, but it's only good when there's a big deer there. So we've kind of branched out and hunted a lot of the public around and killed some pretty nice deer during gun season on drives and a few with the bow. But
Natural
yeah,
progression of having, maybe I think everybody probably has access to like a private piece, big or small, whether it's in the family or just know somebody, family friend. And that's just like you can't hunt what's not there. So the years that you don't have a big one, either living on yours or close to it, and you don't really have that where it's gotten more popular now. People branching out in the public because it's a new challenge, new opportunity.
you got to find what you want to go after. I'd have no issue going and shooting a basket rack 8 pointer on my family land every year. But if I've killed enough of them, I'd like to, go after something bigger.
Right. And then you got the family part of it too. That during gun season, you got 20 guys hunting it, and you want to leave those for. You don't want to take all those out, for you because one, like you said, that's not something that you want to do anymore because you've been there, done that. But you got your younger cousins or your, little guys that are getting into hunting that
Yeah,
you want
I'd
to
rather
save
see
those
them.
for.
I'd rather see them harvest their first deer, get into it that way, and just spend time with them. I
Right.
If I don't pull the trigger on a gun, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it.
No, it's fun, but yeah, it's different. Well, yeah. Yeah, you're still living up in northern Wisconsin. I a couple years ago moved to the southern part of the state, so it's almost completely different as far as the hills and just everything's so broken up and a little piece of land down here that's got one good ridge on it can seem like it's thousands of acres. You go back up north, some a piece of ground like that. But it's been, a learning experience on my end, being completely different terrain. So but it's been a few years now. It's kindly starting to, things are starting to click a little bit. Kind of just takes a little bit to know how the deer are using different areas.
Using that hill, I came down by you and hunted in them bluff country stuff, and that's way different than up here. It's flat. I mean, it's
Hmm.
flat, straight timber, popple slashings. You get in tamarack swamps. I mean, you go from a wall of woods to rolling hills.
It's all easily logged too. So I mean, you drive around, it's like perfectly square pieces of timber, where there's
Yeah,
hard edges. You're going from field straight to mature timber. There's no like buffer in
Yeah.
between them or transition. Really, it's black and white pretty much.
Yep.
But
Yeah, there's a lot more egg down by you, especially even on some of the public land. I believe some of that gets leased out from the state.
it's managed definitely way better than it is in the northern part of the state, but for sure. Well, a big reason that I wanted to have this conversation, one, just because we're busy and I want to catch up before season starts, knowing what you're doing and whatnot. But we kind of talked about this behind the scenes and thought it would be kind of good and or kind of funny to do like a preseason, like what our goals are for the season, kind of run down our systems, what we're going to do different, the same, just kind of go over what our plans are this year pretty much. And then if you look at the title of this podcast, it's going to be something along the lines of, are you hunting opening weekend? Because we're not. And we're going to tell you why. And I guess I'll just go into why we won't be hunting opening weekend by saying I just had my wedding 2 weeks ago. And now, opening weekend, we have another wedding that me and you are both standing up in. So that, kind of puts a little
Really
hurdle.
throws really throws a wrench into the
Plans, yeah.
plans.
But we've known it for a while. Like we've known all summer. And I know that's kind of why I put out my cameras early, got a lot of stuff done I was going to need to get done. Just because knowing that I'm not going to have, it doesn't really make sense for me to put a lot of time into patterning a buck for opening weekend when I can't hunt. So it's more of looking at the long game of the season, trying to prepare myself for that. But yeah, I think I don't even remember the last time I missed opening weekend. I think maybe the first time in my life since I was 10 or 8 or whatever. Maybe
Yeah,
once or twice, but I don't remember.
I can't say the last time I've ever missed opening weekend of bow season. Granted, the first year bow hunting, I actually killed a spike, which is my first deer ever with a bow when I was 10. But I've never killed a deer opening weekend. It's more of a tradition thing to me. But
Got to be out in the woods like everyone else.
yeah,
Where the more I think about it, am I super like depressed about, do I think it's just going to ruin my year not getting out
no,
opening weekend? No.
no,
Because
but it sure is.
in the grand scheme of things, I've never killed a mature buck opening weekend. I've seen them from a distance, but it's, mostly like filling a doe tag opening weekend, or usually I don't have a buck figured out well enough. Or, I mean, back home on the private, we had some good hunts opening weekend just because it's a little more of a controlled environment. But hunting more big woods public, it's kind of tough.
Yeah,
So,
well, especially bear season right now. All the big
yeah,
public to the north of us, the hounds are in there right now. That started today, so
running
them
out,
deer,
you got
yeah,
to
them
find a
deer are
pocket.
going
You got to
nuts.
almost avoid that. You got to hunt the bear hunters and the people running dogs and stuff, and like kind
Yeah,
of find an area that maybe is untouched. But a lot of it, there's so many roads and logging roads through stuff they can get a lot in places you wouldn't think they'd be able to get, even with
yeah,
side by sides and stuff.
yeah. And
So
I
yeah,
just think it's funny to give my buddy some grief about getting married on opening weekend. Like I don't know who would do that, but
you talk about it, and it's like until you are go through the whole wedding planning thing, and you're like, I'll never have a kid on opening weekend that interferes with my fall, or I won't ever have a wedding. Like I'm gonna pick in the middle of the summer, but it doesn't work like that. You
no,
kind of have to get
I
in when
got
you fit
married
in.
I got married last year, October 19th. So
Yeah,
during the October lull, that don't matter. If you
right.
believe in that.
Yeah, it's just kind of fun to give them some jabs here and
Yeah,
there. Everybody kind of like, what the heck, man? It's opening weekend. Like you're wrecking
yeah,
my whole year.
yep. Everybody's telling them no, we ain't going.
Yep. Well, if we get one on camera, when that camera goes off, we're gonna have our camo in our truck and we're leaving. Sorry.
Yep. No matter if it's at the altar, my phone goes off. I'll stop the whole wedding.
Yep. Yeah.
But no,
It's
it'll be
all
fun.
good fun. Yeah. So maybe that's a good opportunity to like maybe talk about what you like and dislike about like early season where you're at.
So what I really enjoy about early season is you're still getting basher groups of bucks, and Last year I harvested a really nice 7 pointer, and he was an older deer. We had him on camera during the spring, and he was one of the nicer bucks we had on some private land. And the nice part about having that early season bachelor group is once you could figure out where one of them bucks are, it seems like all them bucks were still together. And actually, where I was hunting, I was able to glass them early season, and I just could never hunt them because the wind was always wrong for where they would come out in this winter wheat field. But once the wind finally did change, I was able to sneak in there and get them. Another thing what I like about early season is it's a lot more quieter in the woods. I feel like my access is a little easier. Otherwise, as soon as fall comes, it's like walking on pine needles and glass. It's just loud. And also, them deer haven't been messed with all year yet, so I feel like you get away with a little bit more. Your wind doesn't travel as far through that thick foliage.
Yeah, I think that's is one of the things that's attractive about early season, at least, is you can sit and watch deer. Like I always like going like out west or whatever. It's like a totally different type of hunting where you can just glass deer on a pattern. They have no idea what's going on. They're doing their thing and just be able to watch them and
Hmm.
learn that way and not feel like you have to be, you know, let them do their thing, watch them for a couple days or a couple weeks or whatever, and then try to intercept that pattern. It's just kind of nice and it makes you feel good that you kind of have them figured out a little bit and actually be able to see what they're doing.
Yeah, and I've had better luck. You know, early season to me is late September because it seems like every year you can pattern these deer when they're still in velvet, but as soon as they rub the velvet off, that's a whole different animal, and they just completely booger out of an area. And this is just my experience. They booger out of an area, their whole feeding range, everything narrows down, and it's either you're either on them or you're way off of them. And I've had better luck, probably because I'm throwing more hunts and scouting more after they get hardhorn, and that's probably about the time I figure them out is late September, early October. But you only got a few weeks, and then all of a sudden it's pre-rut, and then everything changes again. So you got it's ever changing.
It's like a few days. It's like every few days or at like a week at most, it like changes. Everything changes again. So yeah, that's the thing too, is like it seems like and kind of talking about like you maybe have mentioned it. I didn't catch it or not if you talked about like food sources changing too. But like it seems like something I've noticed the last couple of years, like early season, is like everyone says, "Oh, they're hitting the beans or they're hitting a green field or whatever." I feel like I've seen more green fields, as in whether that's hay with alfalfa or clover or something, like
Hmm.
holding maybe that feeding pattern a little bit longer, like maybe to that early October when the acorns start dropping or whatever, and they still might be hitting that green field like later at night and hitting the oaks before they go out to it. Like that green seems to be like their destination, even if it's at the middle of the night. But it seems like the beans here this far north, by the time our season opens, second week of September, they're all yellow already. So you might get like around a really wet year or something, or like just the perfect conditions weather-wise. You might get like maybe a week of that, like them hitting the beans. So it's like it's almost like you're always a step behind the game because it's their food sources early seasons like the key, and they change so quickly here, especially.
Yeah,
It's kind of
and
hard.
I've noticed that here too. As soon as a crop comes off a field, you might have a few days where they're still scrounging around and they're picking up, what the farmer missed. But as soon as they turn that field over, that that's just a dead area, and then they're on to the next thing, whether it be natural foliage or you got acorns, or if they're completely moving to a whole different egg field. Even if it's a half mile away, I've seen deer just completely up and move.
Yeah. It food's definitely the key earlier in the year until, middle of October. Cause like I remember up north and even our private piece, like we have the field, like our fields are rented out by farmers, whatever. It rotates between corn, alfalfa. They don't do it beans anymore. They did it 1 year, I think, a while ago. It's usually they do like a corn rotation to an alfalfa for a couple of years and then like a transition where they do like wheat or winter rye or something. Like those years where it was winter rye, there was hard like you wouldn't see that they didn't eat out there in the field. That was not their destination food source. Like the years it was alfalfa, I mean, early season you'd have 50, 60 deer out in the field, and when it's standing corn, obviously you don't know what's there. But that's not, I don't think, their destination those years either. So like from year to year, the population of deer around isn't changing that much year to year, but it's night and day how
Yeah,
that
depending on the food
destination food
source.
source could change year to year. But which is something to, I mean, you learn that over, we always joked like the years there was alfalfa in the fields, we're like, all right, we're like super pumped for season to come because the first month of the season, that's your destination food source and you can kind of hunt off that. The years where it's standing corn, it seemed like we were more excited for like that middle of October, the rut, because that's, in my opinion, I mean, people can argue with it all they want, but standing corn, I feel like deer, that's just an extra set of cover for them. It's so thick, they bed right in it.
Yeah,
It's an extra spot for them to hide. They got shade, they can eat on the corn right there. They don't have to move very far. So like that keeps them there. And then once they take it off, you got all the corn that's laying on the ground in the field that the farmers leave. Then that's like their destination food source for that week or two until they clean it up. So then that's another period you can hunt that. And then later in the year, I mean, all those deer that were living there all summer and later into the year than they normally do, then they're kind of there already when they start rutting. And it seemed like it was a little bit better rut those years we had standing corn.
yeah,
So like that's all stuff you learn, but like it could change how your season plays out like year to year.
yeah. Well,
Which a lot of
especially up here, we've been getting, later every year. Seems like the corn's been coming off the field, especially if they're combining it. It's been so wet. They're not combining that field till January or February. So you might have standing corn throughout your whole season. And if you can't hunt that standing corn, you're kind of out of
and
the game.
and those years too that it seemed like it stood way longer than usual. Like I said before, that's extra cover. I think a lot, especially when the pressure hits that, like opening couple weeks, they live in the corn, and then they never really have to leave it until they start laying down signs. So like the does might still bed in there, and then you see all this sign start popping up, middle of October, early October, and you're like, oh man, they moved into the woods now, and I'm gonna hunt the surround like edge of the corn, which, or I mean, not the edge of the corn, like the middle of the timber, where you see this nighttime sign pretty much popping up. They're
Yeah,
going back to the corn, but at night they'll come out. They need to lay down sign. That's like in a buck's nature to do it. They like come out of the corn at night, lay the sign down, go right back in. And then you might get lucky hunting the edges of them transitioning. Like if they get back late, like if the conditions are right, catching them going in or out on the edge. But
yeah,
those years where the standing corn was later into the year, it seemed like you'd still see a lot of that good sign in the woods, but you wouldn't see as many deer when you hunted. And it's like, okay, I put two and two together. Why these years where there's standing corn all year, do I just not see the deer movement in the daytime sitting in your normal spots? Just because they don't have to leave the corn and they do at night.
yeah. Well, and I've noticed these last couple of years on our private land, a lot of the neighboring farms all went into ginseng now, and so that's really made a big difference in our actual food plots we're putting in. So before we couldn't really compete with our food plots with all the egg fields and then even a lot of the oak trees. And now with all the egg fields turning into ginseng, there really is no egg crops for them to eat. And now, we planted corn this year and the corn's getting hammered. We planted beans earlier this year. They're in the beans. I got winter rye going right now and winter wheat, and they're starting to get into that. So I feel like now food plots in our private stuff are going to be a real game changer versus years before we had to pretty much either wait till the egg fields were harvested or just not even hunt the food plots we had because it didn't make a difference what we had planted. We just could not compete with the big
Right.
egg fields.
And that's just like just paying attention to the bigger picture surrounding.
Yeah,
paying attention to what's going on around your land and like around you, either whether it's pressure, food, whatever, taking a second to like look at the big picture instead of like, what am I doing wrong on mine or my area? Like it could be as easy as someone around you is doing something different too. Or like you said, that destination food source is no longer elsewhere. You kind of can control that now to where you can hunt maybe the edges, the deer might not be getting to your destination till middle of the night, but you can kind of play your game around that still.
Yeah. I mean, them years that it was all corn and soybeans and stuff by us, I would just plant clover and rye in my food plots and just, I wouldn't stick the money into it because it never made a pinch of difference what was in there. I would just plant it, and if it grew, it grew. If the deer were in there, they were in there. But I don't think I've only ever killed one deer out of my food plot. Otherwise, I've been focusing on acorns, or I've been focusing on bedding. I've been just disregarding food plot hunting because it just never worked. Never worked for me.
Yeah, it's something to definitely think about because like those years where that your place was never going to be the destination food source, you could do other things like, making that area, planting some kind of, like you said, grass, or they might bed in it, or like just going a different route with it to like, okay, what can I do to make what I have work? Or like, okay, I might not have the food source on mine, but I could make it a little bit better, like create some more bedding for them, or
Yeah.
you know, or if when they're fawning and stuff, like putting food plots in for like more like spring
Yeah.
for
And that's what I was
turkeys
doing
or
with
whatever else.
That's what I was doing with that winter rye and winter wheat stuff. I'd plant it and I wouldn't cut it. And then come springtime when the does are having fawns, I had cameras kind of on the edges, and it seemed like all the does and fawns were heavy and them thick. It's all head high ryegrass and wheat. Then deer would really like to lay in there. I feel like at
Hmm.
least that's what I've the kind of knowledge I've gained is having cameras watching that. But for hunting wise, it was never worth sticking time into because if the deer aren't there, I'm not going to sit there. So that's as simple as that.
Right. Yeah. So kind of talked about what we like and dislike a little bit about early season. Why not hunting it this year is not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. It's 1 year out of whatever. It's just something you got to work around. But when you look at what your season looks like for this year, is it going to be any different not being able to hunt since you get to put more time maybe into, you're not going to be able to hunt early season. So like I kind of mentioned before, you're not putting a lot of your time right before season right now into that opening weekend. You're kind of being able to more think about later time frame. It's like, is this year for you like what your plans are going to change much, or is it kind of going to be the same?
My plans will probably be the same. I've noticed, and for whatever reason, a lot of the big timber blocks up here and even our private land, the bucks are just not in the hardwoods at all, and they're primarily sitting in them crop fields. So every year, I mean, I'm lucky to see a spike or a fork in any of them spots. Usually, it's the first week of October, getting into November once them bucks break them bachelor groups up, and them deer have to find a new place to go. They push each other out. That one dominant buck might still hang around that primary food source, or them egg fields or whatever, but there's other deer have to find new bedding areas and stuff and compete for other food sources. That big buck might have them pushed out of that egg field. Well, you have two dominant bucks. One's got to go somewhere. So I've had better luck just
Trying to,
planning my hunts for later.
so like trying to, like if you look at it in stages, like we were talking about, say you break the season down into week-long stages, like getting ahead of that next stage, like that, like we were kind of talking about, cross out that destination food source or that pattern for the first week, what they usually do up to summer, like that summer pattern, and like trying to get ahead of that transitional where they shed velvet, they kind of transition. And I've learned kind of the last couple of years, I don't think they move as far as we think when they make that
No,
move. I think they're a lot closer than you think, but just to kind of, whether that's putting cameras into where surrounding where they're at now to try to catch to where they go year to year, because I feel like they're probably habitual that way. where they like to go year to year, trying to get ahead of that and like just focusing on learning what that food source is that second week, whether it's acorns or a different type of egg or whatever, or try to get a high, if you're in an area with high pressure, like you kind of said in a certain area, okay, is there any areas that I could possibly get either access to or hunt, not where that I can tell there's a lot of pressure right now, or then there's going to be opening weekend most likely because everybody thinks they need to be in the woods, even if the situation or the conditions aren't right. Get ahead of the transition, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and over the years, I've kind of learned, in a lot of these areas where the deer usually end up, especially in like the big timber blocks up here. 90% of your deer are in 10% of the woods. So you're not hunting one big area. You're hunting one small area in a big block of nothing. Because I mean, these deer are going to be in one area because it has the bedding, it has the food. They're not going to be in wide open hardwoods where, especially the wolves, can just pick them off. And you do have a lot of road hunters up here with these huge public chunks because you have all the trails going through it for bear hunting and stuff. So I mean, these deer are getting hunted 365 days a year, whether it be either by people or the wolves. So these deer are really, if you find one, you're going to find a bunch, and that's usually kind of what I've found. But it's trying to find that one deer you want in this huge, vast area. You might
Right.
find the deer, but there might not be a caliber deer you want in that little area. So then cross that off and then throw a dart at the board and figure out where you're going next.
Because, yeah, it's like, and it makes it a lot easier now with how good mapping stuff's come.
Yeah,
Like, whether that's LiDAR or whatever the heck the new fangled tool is that they're coming out with. But, yeah, it's kind of like common sense once you're like out there and like you're talking about, one, maybe getting away from areas where road hunters are prevalent, getting away from the road, maybe in that area, staying away from where the open stuff, like you're talking about. So like that kind of narrows it down, and then you look at it on a map and you go down your checklist. Okay, like cross this out, cross this out, cross this out. It only leaves you with a little area, and then once you do it that way, you can kind of go right to that area. They're not here, so maybe they're just not here, or
yeah.
what have
Well,
you. And then you just
and
go
what
from that area. How can I translate this and how it sets up to areas around that are maybe a little different, and then you can kind of like more strategically hit them the areas and giving you the best odds.
Yeah, and what's helped me the most is just over the years how much better all the like mobile gear stuff is now. I mean, you got saddles now, you got hang-ons that are 5 pounds. You're not lugging a huge climber through the woods, and you get a mile back and you're gassed, and you might as well say, "Well, I'm going to sit here because I don't really want to go any farther." And with the advances in mobile gear and looking at how is everybody else hunting all these big blocks, and there's a pile of people in there hunting, but I never see these pile of people killing big deer. So if you're going to hunt like everybody else, you're going to get results like everybody else. And having the ability to go in light, because especially I saddle hunt now, having the ability to go in with just a backpack on your back and get back, a mile or two, even farther than that, and having the ability to sit on the ground or just get up in the tree and hunt. And you're finding these pockets of deer where people aren't back there pushing them and messing with them. And I do have spots where I can hunt 100 yards off the road because there's a main access trail, and these deer just sit and watch, and everybody walk right by them. I've killed a couple nice bucks where I could see my truck in the parking lot.
Yeah. Or park where everybody else does and make a big loop and come in from a different angle, or park. Or if there's other people hunting it, just as simple as parking 100 yards down the road and going in, looping way around. If you know that's where the deer are, yeah, it's just, sometimes it doesn't take, it's not, you don't really have to reinvent the wheel sometimes. Like,
No, these deer they're getting hunted 365 days a year, so they want to be where they can see you, smell you, or hear you. Well, come hunting season, they're getting all this human pressure. They want to know what you're doing as well as you want to know what they're doing, but they're just a whole heck of a lot better at it than you are.
That'd be like, but yeah, that's, I mean, that's their house essentially. Like you're, you know, that'd be like them. It'd be the same thing of they wanting to know what you're doing, and then they come into your house. You probably have some spots in your house that you could hide that they'd have no idea where you're at.
Yeah,
It's the same.
and for them, all of a sudden, they got all this human traffic coming through the woods. That's no different than all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and there's a fresh set of muddy boot tracks that went right through your kitchen. You'd wonder what the heck's going on too.
So to boil it down, you said that you're not going to change much, but it's pretty much just going to be trying to get out ahead of that first week and kind of crossing out that very, very early season pattern and just kind of, so as far as, then you mentioned gear. So how has like your system changed over the last couple of years, or even like changed from last year to this year? Like, has it changed much, or is it pretty well the same, or?
From last year, it's pretty much changed very minimally. I all I did was just pick up a little bit bigger platform because I like to be able to stand if I can in my saddle.
Yeah.
But from over the years, I started, growing up with my dad. We just had a wooden ladder. You hunted that stand, and that was your stand all year. It didn't matter. Going from there, I went to an old Summit climber, and as soon as I got in the climber, I started noticing I was seeing more bigger deer. And then from there, I went to a lone wolf hang on and a set of lone wolf climbing sticks, and that was able to get me in trees with better cover. And my success went up from there. And then I got into saddle hunting 3 years ago, and I, me personally, I wouldn't go back to a hang on just because the fact of I can go in so light and I can sit on the ground, I can get up in a tree. To me, being mobile is the biggest game changer that I've experienced since I've
It's
started
not,
hunting.
it's not, yeah, it's not maybe the style per se, but it's
Yeah,
the, maybe not like, there's no bad style of hunting. Like,
no,
there's guys that get it done on the ground because that's their forte, that's what they do. There's guys that stand hunt and they get it done, but just the advances in gear and just how light you can get now without sacrificing comfort and perform. I mean, yeah, you get light enough, you're probably gonna be less comfortable, maybe a little bit, but like if you're doing it like at least the way I've started doing it, or you started doing it, to where, you know, you're hunting a big area or a new area, you put your stuff on your back and you're pretty much scouting and then set up if you find something you want to hunt. So like it's a lot more walking around, whereas before, like you said, you got a 25-pound climber on your back. Yeah, you're mobile, but really it limits what you can do noise wise, how far you're gonna walk and want to walk, the trees you can get in. So it's not that a style's wrong, or like I'm not saying, I still like stand hunting. Like if I could afford the top of the line hang on stands out there, like I'm just not willing to maybe spend that money in that area. And that's just me. Some guys are. Like if I wanted to do that, I would stand hunt too. Because there's not much of a difference in weight really when you think about it between the lightest stands and like a full saddle setup.
yeah,
But just, yeah, that mobility thing the last couple of years, we kind of transitioned at the same time from climbers to saddles and stuff, which we neither of us were very sold on them at first, but it takes a lot of getting used to as far as like shooting out of them and like how to set up with the tree and just being comfortable swinging around on a tree with one little rope hanging, holding you up. But once you get comfortable with your system and stuff, like looking at it at a with a bigger lens, it's like having something that weighs a total of 15 pounds with everything. That's like all the gear you need: stick, saddle, platform, extra layers, literally everything you would need any time of the year, 15 pounds. versus you're talking double that, just a stand.
just in a stand or a climber years ago.
But yeah, I
Yeah, and
think
like
no, go ahead.
yeah, this last year, I'm a big saddle hunter and all, but both bucks I killed last year, I was sitting on the ground. That's just because the spot allowed me to sit on the ground and there was no trees. But at the end of the day, I'm going to hunt where the deer are, and I'm going to hunt where I think these deer are going to come out. So just because that's what's nice about a saddle, it's light. If I bring it and use it, I use it. If I don't use it, I'm not really out anything.
Right. And there's guys that do that with hang-ons too, like the lightweight ones where I know I've done it and you've done it where, man, either I'm running low on time or the cover's better on the ground other than up in the tree, or this spot sets up for it. Whatever the reasons may be, you set it on the tree and you sit on that hang-on at ground level. So you have
Yep,
something to
just
sit
get your
on, obviously, but
yep, then just get your feet off the ground.
you don't have to be up in the tree 30 feet.
No, I've
Some
killed a
spots
lot
are,
of deer real low to the ground.
yeah, which that's a whole can of worms on high. Well, all stuff we don't need
Yeah,
to get
high
into,
low.
but yeah, it's not the style. We're not saying that saddle hunting is the only way to go. Like I said, I'd probably be a stand hunter if I had to choose one, but that's just my method. I just see so many more advantages to saddle hunting versus what I was doing before. But that's just what I chose to go with at this time. It might change next year, it might change next week. I don't know, but it, I plan on doing a lot more ground hunting this year too because, like you said, and that's nice about you can load up your pack, everything you need, saddle gear, everything on your back, scout all day, 8 hours walking around, whatever, through the hills. Well, you only got an hour left. I don't really feel like it's cost benefit to me right now. Plus, I got good enough cover on the ground to climb the tree and then after dark having to climb down because I don't care how good you are sitting up a saddle. People say it's quicker than a stand. It's still at a minimum, probably by 15 minutes if you're being quiet about it, give or take, whatever. But it's time. That's a half an hour total that you don't need to do if you don't have to. And you're not doing yourself a disservice. It's completely discretionary, and that's the nice thing about it.
Yeah, you got to hunt what the spot allows. If the spot allows you to get up on the tree, you can get up in the tree. But I wouldn't force getting up in a tree just because you brought it. It doesn't mean you got to use it. Because then all of a sudden you get up on a tree and you're skylit, or all the wind's taking your scent the wrong way because you're up in a tree now.
You can, and I think too, like you could literally have like a pinch point or like a ditch crossing or something where, let's say, ideally you have cover for both tree and ground, right? Different times a year with the foliage change and stuff, like at one spot you could be within a couple feet of that same spot, and certain times a year you'd rather be up in a tree or on the ground, cover based. Like that one spot might change throughout the year, whether you're up in a tree or not.
Yeah. Well, and terrain has a lot to do with if you want to be up in a tree or on the ground too, because you get up too high and stuff, your scent's going to be pulling way different than you're on the ground. I mean, you kind of got to have that in the back of your mind before you decide to get up in a tree or not, too.
Right. And you can do anything you want without, right. It's not like you got 30 pounds on your back to where that's even a factor. You can do what you want when you want to do it, which is nice. So more specifically, like I don't want to talk too much more. We're going on about 45 minutes, but so as far as specific gear, we don't have to get into like everything, but like you said, you're running a saddle, and the one thing you changed was a bigger platform.
Yep. And I did change sticks also.
Just
So I
something.
went, yeah.
Okay.
So I went from a little bit bigger platform, and I think, yeah, as Latitude came out with their bigger XL one, so I picked that up just because I like how you can collapse everything and it's pretty compact and it's light. And then Lone Wolf came out with them micro doubles, and I
Those
haven't
are
really
like
used them.
those are like the ones that are like they're like darn near like paper thin.
Yeah,
Let's say one piece of
and
metal plating or
yeah,
whatever that they cut it out of or machine it out
yeah.
of.
And to me, I like them for my style of hunting because I'm very minimalist and they're a shorter stick. I don't hunt high to begin with, So it'll fit my needs more than it'll fit somebody else's needs if they like to hunt high. But just the having everything so small and compact is what really makes sense to me. It works for how I hunt.
Right. So you're just like boiling down, you're doing what you can do to like that's important to
Being,
you. Like the weight and the
yeah,
packability is the most important to you. It's not so like it might be different for someone else, but like you're just each year you might just be micro tuning your system.
yeah. And I think now I have a system that is very keyed to my own style of hunting, and I think it'll be very efficient for how I do things in the woods.
Right. And I'm just like kind of saying the same thing about my system. Like this year I did the same thing. I went with a little bit bigger platform because I think last year that, and I've said it on a couple of the other podcasts, that I think it screwed me, whether that was me just not being comfortable or whatever. Like I'm a person that likes being like standing on the platform and having like enough room to spin around, like for a backside shot or whatever. And like last year, I was big on I had a smaller platform because I wanted something lighter and packs better or whatever. And I didn't really care about having a big platform. But the more time goes on, like I'm more of a comfort guy. Like I'm a bigger guy. Like I need to be comfortable. And I had a smaller platform last year and I was big on it didn't have like the angled edges like some of them now have. Where so I was angling the platform down all the time just because it's easier on your feet and your legs and stuff.
Hmm.
And with it angled so harshly down like I had an opportunity at a buck that came in fast like during the rut. And I had to like spin around quick, draw, range, stop him, all this stuff at once. And I couldn't get good footing. So I'm like completely like I had my knee up against a tree and totally spun around and it's pretty much just me dangling from the tree very awkwardly. Not if
Yeah,
I would have been had a big enough platform where I'd be just be standing on it like a tree stand, like I'd have felt way better and been way more quick to
yeah,
that scenario. So where I looked at that saying like, okay, what could I change about that opportunity that would have probably had success? And that one thing by having a bigger platform that I could be more comfortable on was one thing I could do to make myself feel like I had a more of an advantage and eliminate a mistake.
yeah. And that's the
I'm
same
kind of
reason
in the
I went
same
with a
boat.
bigger one.
Yeah. And they're
I think it's just
what's a
from,
pound or two, honestly.
yeah,
Like,
I think it's just growing up stand hunting and stuff. You're just so used to being able to have the free range to just move. And then going into saddle hunting where you're kind of confined to a little small 12-inch by 12-inch square. Now, luckily, a lot of these companies are making some bigger stuff, which is nice.
yeah. And as far as have you changed anything bow wise, whether that's anything, poundage, stabilizers, different, any kind of thing as far as bow related, have you changed really?
Nothing really. Just rocking with what I had last year. It worked, so why
Ain't broke,
change it
don't
if it
fix it.
works?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The only thing I changed bow wise is like thinking about like the bow itself and like how I could make my system a little more efficient is I shortened up stabilizers a little bit. Then like just went with one out the front and put a little more weight on it instead of having I was always a longer stabilizer sidebar guy just from like shooting targets and stuff over the years, which I know you're kind of in the same boat. You've kind of switched that up too, but you kind of did it before I did. But and that with like hunting on the ground and stuff, the more I thought about it, I was like, I think this is something that could help too because just the maneuverability of the bow, like on the ground, if
yeah.
it's a little bit thicker cover, not getting it tangled on stuff. But other than that, I don't really want to do it now because it's too close to season. I might just leave it as it is and just, I kind of regret not turning my bow down a little bit too, like for the ground hunting scenarios where like I want to be able, like the movement's key there and like getting drawn. So like I
Yeah.
feel like I'm still at my bow at 70 pounds. I think I should have moved it even 5 pounds down to 65 so I could just way more smoothly draw my bow, like very without any movement. And I'm
Well, that
strong
and if
enough
you got a
too
hold
that,
too.
yeah, I'm strong enough to where I feel like I could like nut up and then when I need to. But it's definitely something I need to think about in my mind in the moment. Like just flash that to the back of my head and say, okay, it's 70 pounds. You need to like focus and, you know, put a little more effort into your draw and try to do it slow. Because you don't
Yeah.
think about that because you go through your season and like, especially during the rut when you're hunting all the time and you just don't have time to like worry about your gear. You're such in the middle worrying about stuff that's not gear. You want to have your system kind of figured out. And like it could be weeks that you didn't shoot your bow, you're shooting it all summer, you feel great going into the season, and then 2 months later you haven't shot it since August or September, and then you really don't think about it and you try to drop back and you're like, shit,
Yeah.
this is a
Or
lot more than
especially,
it seems.
or you've been in there all day in November and it's 20 degrees out and you're frozen stiff, and it's the last hour before dark and you've been there for 8 hours. It don't work so well. I've been there.
Yeah, I have too. So yeah, it seems like we said, like seasons be here before you know it, and this is gonna drop the day before opener, hence the name of the podcast and everything we've kind of talked about. But yeah, it seems like I went in just like every year thinking this off season I got to get everything dialed in way before season comes because I don't want it to catch up. And knowing that we've had all this stuff go on in our personal lives and stuff that we wouldn't have time right before the season. But what do you know? It's here and in the same boat as every other year. But it's all kind of give and take because like I said, I kind of did some things like transition to gear that I've used, which will help this year, or like getting my cameras out earlier and stuff like that. That I don't think it's a deal breaker. There's going to be things every year that you don't do that you wish you would have. So you can't really second guess. So you just got to roll with it. But
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this year. I think I got pretty high hopes.
yeah, for sure.
Usually, last few years I've been able to get on deer, so I'm not too concerned about it.
It's one of those years where it's like, for me, I didn't kill a deer last year, but I had so many close calls and so many opportunities at really good deer. And like I put myself in a position to like at least see them hunting and have like an opportunity. So like the rest of that's on me. So you can only feel so bad about it. That in the grand scheme of things, you're getting there. You're just one or two small tweaks, whether that's gear like we talked about, or you're switching your mindset or whatever. That like you're just one little thing away from getting it done. So it's got me confident that just keep doing what you're doing. Just make micro tweaks. Don't try to change your whole game or anything, but just doing some things that based on previous experiences and things that you could make a little bit better or just tighten the knots a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. If I'm not seeing deer, I'm on the next spot, and it's once you're on them, you're on them. And I'm a firm believer in once you're on him and you figure out where he's living at, you got a hard time busting him out of there. I mean, if you bust him out of there, to me, you just reassured him that he's safe where he's at. So
Yeah. That's another thing too that we could get into further, but we won't. But like just getting in there, being aggressive, and
yeah,
just
you got to kill them where they're at. You can't kill them where you want them to be.
yeah. We'll wrap up. We kind of already talked about gear, but like I like to do this every once in a while. I go through gear like it's clothes, like women go through clothes or shoes. But I'm always trying something new or whatever. Like, what's one thing that you maybe got this year gear wise that you're ready and excited to test out or use most, other than you kind of already talked about your bigger platform? Like, what's that one thing that like doesn't have to like be a game changer or anything, but like one thing that you're excited to use?
Well, this year I finally got a new pack and a new gear hoist. So I
You stole
bought.
stole mine. I'll get into mine after you, but keep going.
So I got the new gear hoist is really what I'm excited about. It's one of them Doyle's gear hoist. It's real quiet and it almost looks like a dog leash type deal. And my new pack, you can actually slide it in the side pocket and it's got a brass bushing or grommet or whatever you want to call it, where you can feed it through. So now that gear hoist is integrated in that pack. So once you start going up the tree, I'll have my backpack on my back going up the tree. I'll have my bow hooked up on the ground. And I go up the tree once and I come down the tree at the end. I don't do everything in certain steps. I'll set sticks all the way up and hunt. This way I got something nice. I don't have to fumble with rope anymore. Usually every time I get to the stand, I rope's all knotted up or blowing in the wind, or I'll forget to wind it up, and then I'm halfway through my hunt. I look down, there's a string 20 feet flopping in the wind.
Yeah.
So that's
And up
probably what
north,
I'm most excited about.
yeah, up north with that berry brush and stuff, that's just
Yeah,
a
it gets all
pain in the
tangled up.
butt. Yeah, so you kind of stole mine a little bit, but I got a new Arsenal pack that I've been super impressed with. I've used it like scouting a couple days and just taking things in and out of it to get used to it because it's a different layout. But yeah, I would say the one piece of gear that I'm most excited to use is probably either that pack or that tree seat that I put together, that Amsteel Guy Stolik. I
Hmm.
rigged it up with a little bow hanger so you don't have to, put your bow in the dirt. You can just have that right off your left side. You can just be sitting here real still, and it takes like 2 inches, and your hand could be up on the grip, and like you could pretty much move very minimally and grab the bow and draw back without, like, if you're looking at the, sitting on the ground looking at the person, you don't really leave the profile of you. You just kind of grab it and draw, and you're right there. So I made a couple improvements, like stealth stripped that up a little bit and kind of did my own couple little improvements to it. And Sam, I talked to him too, that made that, and he said he's going to come out kind of with some improvements to it too in the future, to where you can do the same things to it, because it kind of just, when you mess around with it enough, it's just things that could be made better. But I'm super pumped to use that thing on the ground, just to be more comfortable sitting on the ground. And then that Agile pack from Arsenal is made super well. And just the pack layout, it's got like a big kangaroo pouch on the back where you could slide even like the XL platform like I have in it, and like put layers of coat in there, and it's like expands really well. And then it's got like a wire frame in it. So it's like pretty rigid. It's got like good support in the back, almost like a frame, like some of the frame, like the lighter frame packs have, but just kind of to give you support so it doesn't collapse fully down on you. So I'd say those two things, a pack that's laid out a little better, like the one I got, and then that ground seat, are two things that are going to like make my system flow a little bit better. Kind of like you were saying, just like little things. And yeah, you don't have to have nice or new gear to kill deer, but it's kind of hard to convince yourself otherwise when things improve so much every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much, we've kind of hit on everything I kind of wanted to talk about. It was nice catching up,
Yeah.
but
I'll be seeing you next week.
yeah, we'll both be probably consuming a few too many adult beverages and having a good time at our buddy's wedding. So
Yep. And I'm going to fly back Sunday and try to get in the tree Sunday night.
that's the plan. We'll see what the weather's doing, what the cameras are doing, what's going on. We'll see how I'm feeling on Sunday, but
Yeah,
for
that's going to be
sure,
the biggest thing. Might be a ground hunt.
yeah, or observation sit, or whatever you want to call it. Minimal up and down. But yeah, I think that's all I really got. I think we went over everything I kind of wanted to get through. We'll leave it there. Before we're done though, just let everybody kind of know. I know you're not huge on like posting a bunch on social media or anything, but if people want to check your stuff out, see what you killed during the year, what you got going on, let everybody know where they can follow along with you.
If people want to check me out, I'm going to try to get more into the social media aspect of things, but my Instagram is official_Jank. Facebook is Jesse Jankowski, obviously, but
And if anybody has any issues finding it, I'll post it in the description of the podcast, and you're tagged and on a bunch of my posts on Instagram and Facebook too, so people can follow the trail there. And
yeah, I post a lot of stories and stuff when I'm in the woods, but I'm going to start trying to get more into,
I kind of
yeah,
plan on doing that too this year, is like not doing so much like filming. Just, you always have your phone on you right next to you. Just pull it
yeah,
out, do a little bit. Okay, this is what's going on, and like post them a story. So
yeah,
like,
film the moments.
right.
Yeah, 'cause last year I tried to film a hunt and it went freaking haywire.
It's more relaxing not doing it. Been
Yeah,
there, done
killed.
that.
No,
We'll let you get going, but appreciate you hopping
alrighty.
on. You'll be back on again, I'm sure, throughout the season, getting some updates
Yep.
and whatnot.
Yeah, I
So,
appreciate you for having me on.
yep. Thanks for listening, guys.